childish game? Do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change, turn the ship another way. Feel it in the darkness, we're sailing right into those jagged cliffs.
Welcome back to the channel, Ecuador and Colombia, and welcome to Coffee Time Live Wannabe Podcast. How do we sound? What's going on? This is kind of a trial run. Let's see. Looks like I'm recording. Looks like I'm on YouTube. Now, am I on Rumble? Bear with me a minute here. I have to make sure this is actually running. It is. Bear with me. I'm on Rumble. I'm on YouTube. So we should be good to go. This is actually running. It is. Bear with me. I'm on Rumble. I'm on YouTube. So we should be good to go. This is actually running. Echo on Rumble. Oh, it is. Bear with me. I'm on Rumble. Pretty bad on YouTube. Man, it's been perfect. So we should be good to go. This is actually running. Echo on Rumble. Echo. It is. Echoing on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Pretty bad on YouTube. Man, it's been perfect.
Bluetooth disconnect.
So we should be good to go. This is actually running. Still echoing. Echo. It is. Echoing on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Pretty bad on YouTube. Man, it's been perfect.
Bluetooth disconnect.
So we should be good to go. This is actually running. Are we still echoing? Still echoing. Echo. It is. Echoing on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Pretty bad on YouTube. Man, it's been. Let me know. Let me know. We should be good to go. Testing. Still echoing. Still echoing. Why on earth would it have an echo now? I'm on Rumble. Pretty bad on YouTube. Man, it's been. Let me know. Let me know. We should be good to go. Testing. Still echoing. Still echoing. Mike Jarvis watching on YouTube, echoing. All right. To be sure I'm not contributing to that, I've turned off my headset. I can't tell if it's echoing, so please, somebody send me a message and tell me if it's still echoing. There is a delay from YouTube to Rumble. Well, that doesn't surprise me. But is there an echo? It sounds better. Does that mean there's no more echo? Hopefully. Better now. Sounds better. No echo. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, didn't mean to shout. Let's get on with it. This new microphone, it's a different thing. The old one I could have quite a ways away from me. This one I've got to have close, and I don't have control figured out yet. Slight echo. No echo. All right. Well, I'm going to go with what we have. To those sending me side messages, I can't really do that. And I'm going to sort out the chat issue here. Looks like I've got 2 chats going. Let me see if I can turn one of them off. Actually have a bunch of stuff to talk about. I'll get to it in just a minute. I appreciate you being patient. Echo concerns me. Okay, I think what it might have been doing is it might have been picking up the sound from one of the maybe from YouTube. Well, it shouldn't have been, but maybe that's what was going on. Room echo, not so much reverb. There's no echo in this room. Now rumble. All right, yeah, there's no echo in this room. That I can be sure. All right, so let's get on with it. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on here, and but I got quite a bit to talk about Ecuador, and I've got some things here, some news topics. So let's get into it. It's been a couple weeks, but first I want to thank you, Juka. It was very generous. I appreciate it. There were others over the last couple weeks, even though I wasn't broadcasting. I think probably knew that this was an expensive proposition, and I had some people help me, so thank you very much. It was a very expensive proposition. So anyway, it's about 70 degrees. We're going to have a high of 78, a low of 61, and the Colombian peso is 41.76. Turtle gets all excited when it gets over 42. It messages me. All right, so, well, the chat's working. I'm getting both the Rumble and YouTube, so that's great. I only worked on that for about a day and a half. Now I have to figure out how to position. I'm also getting some double chat, the old one I had. All right, so welcome back to me. Been 2 weeks. I want to thank everybody for being patient with me. Number one question I got while this was down: why didn't you stick with YouTube? Rumble isn't any good. That's why you're having all these troubles. And that's not the case. Rumble actually has become a more efficient broadcast channel than YouTube. It takes less resources. You get a crisper, cleaner picture than YouTube. The issues that are taking place are entirely on my end, which is better than when it used to be. YouTube would drop a bomb on me every couple of weeks. And if you've been watching, you know. I mean, it's been a struggle. They throttle me. They cut the feed. Anyway, I want to go off on that. So why? Well, I've been doing Coffee Time Live for over 7 years. And during the course of that time, I kept trying to improve to get better sound and better picture. I've had computer failures. I've had microphone failure. I've had all kinds of equipment failures. The last, maybe 4 to 5 years, it's been pretty stable. I've run pretty much the same equipment, but the equipment that I bought was all bottom of the barrel, low end, ultra cheap stuff, because that's all I could afford. But it was better than what I had. And so I had everything the echo was unbearable. Well, I don't know why it's unbearable for you when it's not for everybody else. Are you broadcasting to your TV again? I don't know. And I got to do something about all this chat cluttering up here. Yeah, Renee, hello from Ibage. On my way back from Armenia to Bogota for a wonderful 10-day in Armenia, Manizales, Males, Pereira. Nice. So, you got out of Belgium for a while. All right. So, back on the story of what's going on here. Not hearing any echo, but you sound a little like you're talking inside a closet. Okay, that's good to know. There's a whole bunch of adjustments to be made. In the past, if you remember, you wouldn't know because I probably never told you, but when I got my last audio mixer 5 years ago and a microphone to go with it, it took me about 2 months to get it dialed in. After that, it sounded great. Definite echo, but I don't find it unbearable. Very glad you back video casting. Okay, so you're on YouTube, you're hearing it, and Rumble not hearing it. Okay, not sure why, but all of this is why I said it was a test run and why I don't have another person here. I didn't even know, you don't even know how this is going to go because this is a very complicated setup, far more complicated exponentially than what I had before because I wanted to have 2 people in the studio with the ability to have up to 3 people call in, to video call in. So essentially equipped to run 5 different people. And I have reasons for wanting to do that down the road. And so I'm setting this up. I have to equip it for that. It becomes very complicated since this isn't what I do. I mean, I don't know, okay, what equipment's good and how do you set it up? And I can tell you that even with YouTube videos, they leave out an awful lot of stuff. All the basic stuff I can figure out. Plug a microphone in the microphone port. It's those things are simple. It's all the rest that becomes very difficult. So I've definitely been struggling with that. This equipment was, a fair amount of it was collected over time and kind of set in a closet over here, waiting for the moment. But what happened, like why I made the change and I upended it, what you don't understand is I had a microphone short out and it caused the audio mixer to fail, but it didn't fail immediately. It was intermittent and then finally it fried. I thought it was just the microphone and it turned out I was still having problems even though I had replaced that microphone with something else and it still had a problem. It was the mixer. I went back and I rechecked that microphone. Microphone was also bad. So the equipment basically had run its course and it was just crapping out on me. It's like you buy the cheap stuff and you get 5 years out of it. Consider yourself lucky. This is not, maybe if I had the money to buy Shure microphones and Behringer mixers and, the good quality to high quality equipment, maybe that'll last you 10, 15, 20 years. But I can't swing that stuff. It's 10 times more than I can afford. So I didn't get the cheapest stuff, but I would say it's low to mid quality because it's what I could swing. It doesn't do you any good to save up and buy one very expensive, good piece of equipment, but have crap going into it. So sound analyzer would help to balance the sound in the room. That's true, but the room is fine. It's not the room. I'm positive it's not the room. Yes, good morning. Sound is not great. Okay. When you let me know, try to be specific, because when this is all over, I'm gonna spend the next week, kind of dial it in. So I get you, but try to be specific. I would appreciate it. There are free apps out there. It's not the room. I've run in this room without a problem for almost 2 years. In this same room. It is not the room. I don't have a room issue. Matter of fact, it's loaded with this mess behind me, which is actually going to go away. This mess back here. But to be sure, got soundboards pasted up all over the place. But it's not the room. I have equipment to measure any ambient sound, and there's very little. Right now, there is some occasionally because I have the window open. There's traffic out there, but I also have a denoiser set up, so I don't really think that's it. It seems like from an empty room, you're going to look for a house to move in, no furniture. Awesome. All right. Still able to understand. All right, so that's why you're thinking it's the room, because of that sound, but it is not the room. It's the setup of the equipment itself. And I'm struggling with it. If any of their pros out there that live in Armenia, feel free to stop by, but I'll sort it out. I had this, like I say, about a month and a half. I went through this. It was much simpler because it was one mixer for one microphone, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier. This is set up for multiple things. And it's even possible some things are bleeding over into the other. Now, this microphone is completely off. There's no... Whoop. Bumped it. That better. I bumped that. And this microphone, actually, I have a way to make sure that there's no crossover with noise, except I wasn't going to use this microphone, so I had that off, and I had actually accidentally bumped up the volume a little bit on it. Hopefully it's going to sound better. Can't hear. What do you mean you can't hear? I'm putting out the same sound. Volume drop. These short cryptic messages are kind of difficult. I'm showing full volume out of this microphone. Volume just dropped. Well, the volume may have dropped, but that doesn't mean you can't hear. So please be specific. I accidentally had kicked this microphone on. And of course, if you were getting sound out of both microphones, because I'm right next to it, this isn't the way it would normally be. It's when I turned it off, you stop hearing it, but that could be where that echoing sound was coming from. Probably was. I didn't realize. Oops. Turn it back off. All right. So, how old is your equipment? Well, yeah, I just explained all that. My equipment was about 5 years old, but it was starting to drop off. And when the audio mixer itself went, it's time to go. Made major changes. This is 3 weeks old. This is 4 weeks old. The audio mixer is 1 week old. I could go on. Everything has been replaced. Even this monitor is replaced. Another volume just got good. Again, very strange. Well, not necessarily. Volume just got a lot lower, but the echo is gone. Was better. Yeah, okay. It's because you're picking up too. But there are automatic compensators. So if that volume dropped off because of the two mics, it would automatically compensate. Echo is gone. So that's what it was. Good to know. So I don't have anything to fix, because when I have this set up for another person, it won't be like this and it won't be echoing. So that's Awesome. All right. So we got those taken care of. So anyway, went through this because equipment was crapping out. I had to replace it anyway. I've been doing this for over 7 years, and I want to change it up. It's not that I'm bored with it necessarily, but being a one-man band, I get comments all the time about, why don't you get guests on? It's like it's boring watching you every week, and everybody doesn't feel that way. And a lot of people tune in just to hear me talk because they get used to me. But I want the ability to do more. And I want the ability to have you call into me on your cell phone and comment on something that I'm talking about. Maybe 2 or 3 people, or maybe plan something. I want some flexibility to it to make it more interesting for you and for me. And so, since I have to replace the equipment anyway, why don't I do this? I've been thinking about this for a long time, and when things started crapping out, it's time to make the move. And so here we are. And it'll be a struggle probably for another week or two. Like I said last time, it took me quite a while. Are you familiar with the Armenia real estate guy Hutchinson? Never met him, don't care to. I will give you a general statement. Beware of gringos providing services because they speak English. And I provide services, so, beware of me too. But a lot of you know me and continue watching this, even though quite a few people on here have used my services. I don't think they'd be here or they'd be making comments about, bad things that I did, because that's how it is on the internet. I'm a pretty upright kind of guy. I do what I say, and I'm an honest person. And that's why so many people that are here that know me and have worked with me still hang out with me, but I will tell you, in general, be it Ecuador, be it here in Colombia, what you get is people from, I'll speak to the U.S., but it could be Canada or wherever, and they're thinking about coming here to vacation, but essentially to move here. Or maybe they are moving here, and their fear of the language you hear all the time. Do you know a good doctor that speaks English? Do you know a good real estate guy that speaks English? Do you know a whatever that speaks English? And that's the absolute worst way to choose somebody to do something for you. I don't know what percentage, but a large percentage you have to be careful of, because they know that you're used to higher figures, and they can pass off something. Well, since you mentioned real estate, I'll give you a generic example of renting something. Let's say that the owner of a nice apartment wants 2 million pesos a month. But let's say you have somebody that's stepping in to represent you, that because he speaks English, and it could be anywhere, it could be Manizales or Medellin or whatever, and he's going to tell you that that's a 4 million peso a month apartment. You don't know any difference. You never talked to the owner. You're thinking it's like, well, $1,000 a month, a beautiful place. That sounds right, because I was paying $2,500 back there. Well, that person knows that and is taking full advantage. Now you find out later, and 6 months later or a year later, whenever it is, you never want to see that person again. But in the meantime, he got a lot of money out of you. And if you take a place like Medellin, where a lot of people are coming and going, they don't even care about repeat business. All they care about is what they can get out of you for the first time. It's the ignorance tax. You don't know any better. And they're going to take full advantage of that. So I will say in any field, there's a dentist. There's a dentist here in Armenia that is specializing because he speaks English in providing services. And he wanted me to advertise them. So I messaged him what's up anonymously to get a charge for something basic. I think it was a root canal. His charge was, I think it was 6 times greater than the best dentist in town. If you're coming from the US, you look at that and you think it's a great price. But it's not a great price. You're being played for a fool. You know, that's maybe the worst. Well, losing the money is the worst part. But, you know, having somebody play you like that, you know, it wouldn't feel very good. So, anyway, long way around your answer. Heard of him, you know, use at your own risk. All right, so what else have I got here? Talked about the equipment. This will change. It should be. It's a real mess right now, but it should be looking good by next week. Next week I should have a guest here, and the week after that, I want to start implementing that, having you call in. We'll get going on 1 or 2 topics, and you might have something to chime in. For example, Turtle. We talk about something about Colombia. He had some experience. He wants to share that. He can dial in, and we'll put him up on the screen, and we'll talk about it. All right. So let's talk about Ecuador for a bit, because people that are moving here, Ecuador is usually a place that they're considering. I enjoyed my time in Ecuador. I know Turtle was pretty frustrated, but I enjoyed my time in Ecuador because I met some really good people. And I had a lot going on. But there were a lot of issues. One of the worst is how the government conducts their business, how biased, prejudiced people are there. You know, whites hate blacks, and rich hate poor, and it was just it's people say, well, the U.S. is divided. Well, the news media is divided in the U.S. People aren't really, you know, it's a creation there. Here, it's a throwback to the 1500s. It goes back to the time of Spain, or not here, but in Ecuador. So those aspects I didn't like at all. It was very uncomfortable to see some wealthy guy in a restaurant treat the waiter or waitress like a piece of crap, because they do that. But there are some really cool things. It's one of those things that's like you should definitely visit. Personally, not a place I want to live. And some of the things that I talked about in videos going back 8 years at least have been occurring since I've left. And I took a lot of heat for it. But the first one I'm going to talk about, let me see if I can switch this around here. Boom. Yay. First one is for about a week. I think they're still going a little bit, but in and around Quito, it's been on fire. And let me show you this little video clip.
Lo que se necesita es que se sofoque el fuego en la parte de abajo, en la parte inferior central.
Hopefully you could hear that, although it was all written, but hopefully you could hear the sound. All right, let me go back. All right, so fires have been a problem. Now, they did find out, I heard yesterday, turned out to be arson. So that's not great. Another thing they've been dealing with, we're going on 5 months, and this I'm going to talk about a little bit, is blackouts. Right now, they're actually turning power off for 10 to 12 hours, depending on where in the country, mostly overnight. Overnight, you would think it wouldn't bother you, but a lot of people, you know, they stay up late, like I'll stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe that's the only time if you're busy. I tend to be busy. The only time you have free time to watch a movie or something, well, that's out the window. And you say, well, you know, movie's not all that important when you're having serious. Well, that's true. However, you know, if you're like me and you're retired, you don't know. I mean, you might have only 6 more months in order to enjoy some good movies. So it can be pretty important. But here's the thing on the blackouts. It's water management. And I did a video on this, I think it was 8 years ago. Right now, you have a lot of people in Ecuador blaming Colombia for not selling them more electricity, because Ecuador is always have a shortfall for electricity, and Colombia most of the time have an abundance of electricity, and so they sell whatever they're not using, they'll sell to Ecuador. Well, Colombia stopped selling to Ecuador. Well, they didn't stop selling, but it's greatly reduced. They still sell, but it's greatly reduced. And Ecuador is blaming Colombia for their problems. I read a whole bunch of stuff on forums where this is something that's being repeated. Been no chat for a while. Somebody say something just so I know that you're still there, please. I gotta keep an eye on this stuff. So it's not true. It has nothing to do with it. The reason they're having, there's the main reason they're having issues in Ecuador, though they always do, or wouldn't have to buy electricity from Colombia all the time, but they're having a drought. It's the worst drought in 60 years. They say, well, climate change. Did you hear me? 60 years ago, they had a worse drought. 60 years ago, it was worse. And there was droughts before that. It happens. These things cycle. But here's the real problem in Ecuador. They never got around doing anything about water management. 6 months of the year, rivers overflow, they flood. There's all kinds of flood damage everywhere. And then 6 months of the year, everything's bone dry. You have beautiful greenery for 6 months, and then everything's brown, and there'll be brush fires and all kinds of stuff for the other 6 months. It's beautiful for 6 months. It's butt ugly the other 6 months. So this is a history of what goes on there, and it always baffled me. Well, why do they have this? I mean, you got flooding for months, and then you have droughts, and year after year after year, this happens. Well, this is the worst drought in 60 years, but they have droughts on a regular basis there. And it's something that doesn't happen very much or very often here unless it's severe. Right now it is severe, or it has been. Seems like we've got tons of rain recently, but there's water management here. There's dams all over the place. So Ecuador decided, back when they had the socialist guy, Correa, he decided to make a deal with China to build 6 hydroelectric dams in Ecuador. They got them built. 4 of them started crumbling within 2 years. There's one south of Quito that's got massive cracks in the face of it. You've got a total of 5. Well, you've got 4 that are actually inoperable. They just don't work. You can't run them. They're disasters. You got one that limps along to get some usage out of it, and then you got one that works. They went into debt for multiple billions of dollars, and they couldn't afford that debt, and so they've been having to trade off for certain resources, which is what China does. Something. Hola. Thank you. Appreciate it. So it's what they do. So they're stuck with the debt, and they still don't have water management. They still don't have enough electricity to run their country. They should. If they did things right, they would, but they don't, and that's why they have a problem. Not because Colombia doesn't have enough excess energy to sell to them. Colombia is still selling electricity to them. But hey, Colombia's going to come first, and if they're having some issues and things are dropping off for them, they're going to keep that electric for their own people. So there are a few people I heard kind of like near the border of Venezuela that have experienced some blackouts for a couple hours recently. But blackouts is not a thing in general in Colombia. You know, anywhere around here, it's not. Medellin, Bogota, Cali, it's just not it's a very unusual thing. I have less power outages here than I had when I lived in New York. So, you know, it's just not a thing. So that's my 2 cents on the issue of the blackouts. But man, it's got to suck. They're going on 5 months now, and they're predicting that sometime in the next week or 2, they can stop the blackouts. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if it just keeps pouring down rain, and you have to, for everything to work in Ecuador, you have to have excessive rain. And even then, they don't have enough electric, and they have to buy from Colombia. So, you know, what do you expect? What do you think is going to happen? And now they have so much debt to the Chinese, they can't afford it. All right, and so let's, what else I got here? I got one more thing on Ecuador, and that's politics. The political stability in Ecuador is not their history. They're lucky if they get 20 years before things kind of get turned upside down. And they're having some issues now. There's been some assassinations. It's not great. But right now, the big topic is campaigns are funded by the government. Ecuador funds political campaigns. What's happened, just like whenever the government gets involved in taking tax money and spending it, it never works out well. And what a perfect thing. You know, the idea is, well, you know, if we don't have politicians chasing after money and getting bought, you know, then that's a good thing. Well, it's not better if the government is doing that. You know, if you want to get big money out, then, you know, just ban corporations and make small donor, and whatever that amounts to, that's what there's going to be. It would be nice if the money was commensurate with the amount of actual support somebody was getting. That's neither here nor there. Here's the real issue. Guess how many political parties they have in Ecuador? Somebody guess. When I lived there, I believe it was something. It was under 12. I think it was 8, but it might have been a couple fringe ones. There weren't very many. So they've gone to the government gives money, about 230 political parties. 230. You don't have 230 people running for president or Congress or whatever, for each party. What you have is hundreds of political parties that have set themselves up and go through the motions in order to draw money from the government, with no intention of actually having candidates win. It's just, people will find a way. And so you got 230 political parties, and it's draining the government of money they don't have. So the current president, he wants to end that because he's struggling with the budget that was left to him. So much of it being owed to the Chinese for helicopters that didn't fly and dams that didn't work. So he's trying to figure out a way out of this financial mess. Their healthcare system collapsed. And I tell you, you watch those old videos, I predicted so much of this stuff and got so much heat. I have to say, I'm not one to say I told you so, but recently I've been delighting in seeing that I'm vindicated, because I took so much crap over predicting these things. But the current president wants to get rid of all these parties. He wants to create some barriers so that you can't just say, I'm a party, send me money. He wants some kind of standards. But more than that, he wants to end government financing these campaigns, which will take care of that issue anyway. And they're screaming and hollering, saying he's only doing it because he wants to run again, and because he's a wealthy man, he wants to cripple his opponents. Well, his opponents aren't poor either, but that's that's the situation. They're going to fight that out. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get back. Let's get to Colombia. Nick, hola, how you doing? Welcome to Rumble. Chad, how you doing, Chad? Back now, volume drop. Libby, how you doing, Libby? Libby, you are in Rumble also. Ben Lake, F1 on holiday. Good morning. How you doing? He's a F1 fanatic. Mr. Jarvis, good morning. Saw you, still sounding good. Little distortion in my voice. It is a little harsh, but I think it's probably dialing in. I've got a lot of work to do on that. I struggled so much. Well, one of the problems is everything didn't come in at once. And then when everything was finally here, it was a mad dash to try to get things going. Okay, let's talk about Colombia. Let me go back to my little self here. Oh, that one. Where's my little self? There I am. All right, first story. We're going to cover some news stories. Outrage in Armenia. Investigation into assault that caused the death of a dog. Now, as you know, if you watch me on a regular basis, people go from, somebody can die in a car accident or whatever, and it's like, that's a damn shame. Oh, that's tough. Cause harm to a dog, the world's upside down. And they go into a fit. Well, in this case, it was sad, of course, but also a bit interesting. This dog is in the household with 2 other dogs. The pet's owner is a 15-year-old girl. She's been having psychiatric problems. She went to the hospital. She was treated by a team. When they say a team, I'm guessing 2 or 3 people took care of her while she was there. She was having some sort of episode. And they released her the day this happened. She got, okay, you're doing good. You can go back home now. She went back home and promptly killed her dog. So I don't know where this goes from there, but there's a lot of, it's not unique to Colombia. It's ever since COVID, but there's a lot of mental illness and suicide here in Colombia that didn't exist to anywhere near the extent that it's happening here. And I saw recently stats in the U.S. where it's something like tenfold. It's crazy there as well. So I guess people don't like to be manipulated and controlled and deprived. So there's the dead dog story. Next, this one made me smile a little bit. All I could hear is women drivers. Can driving in heels in Colombia lead to traffic fines? Well, there's a big debate because apparently a lot of women drive in 2-3 inch heels and have trouble with the foot pedals. And there's been accidents where this is the cause. Not one time, but happening enough where it's got on the radar and the statistics. There's no law that says you can't drive with heels. And so in this newspaper article, it was almost like a debate, or at least giving counterpoint in the article about what they can do to address this. And what it came down to is there are laws about careless driving, and there's a whole series of things so that if you're in heels and you lose control of the car, or your foot gets caught, or your whatever happens down there with your feet, and the cop comes along to figure out the accident and he sees that you're wearing heels, you're probably going to get written up for several other things because you wore those heels, where maybe you wouldn't get written up for those things otherwise. In other words, they're trying to get people to stop doing that. Everybody I knew in the U.S., that if they were going out and they had heels, they would kick the heels off and drive in their bare feet or stocking feet, and then put the heels on when they get out of the car. I just thought that's what people do. But apparently, this is what happens here. All right. You may not find these things interesting. I don't know. I live here, but it doesn't take a lot to entertain me. All right. Next thing, if you're here or you plan on being here in the next 2 weeks, I think this is important to know. Discover the schedule of the anniversary celebrations of Armenia. From the 3rd to the 14th of October, it's the 135th anniversary celebration. And I'm going to put up the schedule here. Friday, October 4th. There's a whole bunch of things. I found extremely boring. You might find interesting, probably not. But I took some highlights just to give you the gist. On Friday, October 4th, there's a horse parade. It's going to go from Unicentral down to Plaza Boulevard. So that's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So 3 hours. Could be interesting. Maybe I'll try to get some video clips of it. Nobody ever does the horse parade. Opening concert with local artists, Plaza Boulevard, from 7 p.m. to 1 in the morning. That's probably going to be a mixture of traditional music and more modern stuff. It usually is. And usually the more modern stuff, it tends to take place a little later. People go out in the plaza. If you've ever been there, it's a huge open concrete. I don't know how big it is. City block. It's wide open, and people will go out and they'll dance, and it's a party spot. Sunday is a music festival from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Thursday, the 10th to Monday, the 14th, we got Crafts and Folklore Exhibition, 53 years of tradition of craft and folklore. That'll be at the Convention Center from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Thursday on the 10th, now this one's important. You've got the swimsuit parade. Did I leave something off here? No? Maybe I didn't cut and paste it. Swimsuit parade of the Chapelera Rain. Chapelera is a woman who works coffee farms, picks the coffee. That's what they're called. And so we've got a swimsuit parade. It's a 28th annual swimsuit parade to figure out who the queen of the coffee picking women are. Should definitely be there for that. That'll be at the Portal del Condillo, so it's indoors from 4 to 6. You have local talent presentations, urban dance, hip hop, break dancing, Plaza Boulevard, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Might be interesting, don't know. Saturday, October 12th. We've got the 12th. Kujabro. It's another name for Armenia. I talked about that once. Parade and float parade. And it'll also be crowning, the actual crowning of the coffee picking girl. That'll be from Founders Park to Plaza Boulevard. So it'll all end up at Plaza Boulevard. On Sunday, October 13th, 36th Jeepao, the Jeep parade, where they spin around and go up on wheelies and go on all kinds of crazy things. They got, 3 stories of stuff stacked on them. That parade will be going on from the Aborigine Park to Plaza Boulevard from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then Monday the 14th, when it ends, this is where the crowd, you have the election. Yep, the other Saturday is the parade. Sorry. So you have the, mess this up. So on, what is it? You have the swimsuit at the mall Thursday. Saturday, you have the parade with them in it. And on a Sunday, you have the Jeep. And then Monday, you have the election and coronation of the 28th reign of Chapelera, Plaza Boulevard from 5 to 10 p.m. So the schedule is 2 or 3 times longer than this, but these are the highlights, or at least the things that seem to somewhat interesting to me. Times Square type pickpockets. Yeah, I would, if you carry a wallet, keep it in your front pocket, or don't carry a wallet. Just, keep a couple things down in your sock, maybe. It's not typically a huge problem, but wherever you have crowds, you got a pretty good chance that there's going to be some pickpockets in it. That's a worldwide event. And so, take some precaution. But other than that, I wouldn't worry too much. And always remember that the crowd will be in your court. So if anything does happen, just start hollering and pointing, and 50 people will come to your aid. Okay. Good point. Now, last thing I want to talk about, how are we for time? Oh, right on time. Let's see. Let's go back here. Last thing I want to talk about, I did a video explaining some of this. I'm on a month and a half now hiatus on the coffee because there's processing going on for various certifications. But I had to get a new coffee license because of the change up. And so there it is. The company is now called Coffee Time Exotics, because I will only be selling exotic or specialty coffees. Currently, there's only 4 types. that I'll be selling, and it'll be small quantity because there really aren't large quantities available anyway. So that's the certificate you get to when you legally license your business. So there's that. If you have any other questions on it, feel free to ask me, but that's what's going on. Yeah, leave the email up there. Let's see if an old friend, if I can bring an old friend in here. Hold on. Looks like she's doing well. It's for you, Robert. Okay. I think that's about it. I will ask you, whenever something major goes on, I ask you guys. Sometimes I get feedback. It doesn't really help, but sometimes there's a little tidbit or maybe even an entire comment that's very helpful. So, like I always do with what's going on here, if you have a mind to sit down and send me an email and critique everything that you can think of about what's happened, whether the lighting was off, should be good. I got crazy lighting these days. Whether the lighting was off or there's an issue with the camera, forget this backdrop. I realize how nasty that is. We'll take care of that. Obviously, the sound is an issue. If something came on, if the fire thing came on, you didn't hear the sound, let me know. If something came on and the sound was unusually high and it shouldn't have been, or if it was unusually distorted or scratchy or something, whatever you can point out, because this week is intensive dial in. Everything is here. The truth is, I only had a few days of the final setup for this, and I run several tests, but they don't, until you go live like this, where things are revealed this way that don't show up otherwise. I'll bet you guys were getting an echo. I hit that switch again. So it was probably echoing again. All right. Any comments before we go? Whoop. That thing just pegged out. So last minute comments. Thank you for those that have hung in there with me. I know it's been a difficult time. Audio is good now. Yeah, well, hopefully it won't be an issue going forward. That mic will be on. It'll just be set up properly. Like I say, that thing's right next to me, and it's not even set up for two mic. So you're getting a duplicate. You want to see how bad it is? There, that's how bad it is. That should be much better. Okay. Who was that person that was dancing? Oh, you mean Sabrina? That's the channel mascot. Truth is, I have no idea who she is. It was just something on YouTube made me smile. And I ran it, I don't know, months ago for like a 30-second clip. And, people named her Sabrina, and they call out and ask for her seems like every week. Hey, show Sabrina for a minute. Couple times I've gone out of the video playing that. It's just kind of an inside joke, I guess. All right. Last call for take us out with Sabrina. See what I mean? Last call for any questions, any comments. Emails up there. Feel free. My website is going through, I mentioned this, everything I'm involved in is at this website, grandcolumbia.live. Be it videos, if you can't, where's your live video? You can actually watch it there. The coffee website. I'm setting it up. It's currently, the framework exists, but it's not there yet. It'll be tied to Amazon because they're going to be the fulfillment center. So we're going to ship in pallets to them, and then they're going to receive the orders and send them out individually. And the tourist business or relocation, however, all the information is there for that, for Skype calls. I've got old blogs that I wrote. There's enough blogs that I could actually do. I think it's 187 pages. I think that's right. If I put all those blogs into a book about moving to Ecuador and then to Colombia, writing blog, that's there. All kinds of stuff that's there. T-shirts, mugs, everything to do with me exists there. And again, there's email if you want to help me out. Audio is perfect now. What did you do to fix it? No need to explain. Well, I already did. You were off washing dishes. All right. So I will see you next week, and hopefully it will be a flawless next week.
Afro fue bravo, le dice, lo dejaron tirado, como el de los